in order to be a great winner, you have to know how to lose. And I preach that to my students, and you just mentioned it too. You lost for 2 years straight, before you reached to where you desired to be.
I started competing when I was 12, and everybody else was like, I would fight kids that were like 5-time junior national champion, and I would fight. And I would fight like 12 times a year. I mean, literally, we would go at 13 years old, I'm going down and I'm the kid who goes on about me and wants to train. Well, 20 years later, I'm at World Championships in Denmark, and first thing when we ran, I'm like, when did we get to train?
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of A Black Belt Way of Life. I am your host, Master Joseph Lupo Jr. It is my pleasure, my honor to have tonight's guest, Master Antony Graf, someone I've known for a very long time. Yes, sir. A deep, deep bow. But before I go into that, tonight's episode is brought to you by Whispers of Wisdom, written by Master Antony Graf. Just a little quick excerpt from it. This book serves as your essential mentorship and parenting toolkit, helping you navigate your actions and understanding children better. Master Tony Graf.
Yes, sir.
My pleasure, sir. How are we doing today?
I am blessed to be here with you, my long friend, brother, Dongsang. I love seeing you. I love being around you. We were kids together growing up and training.
Yes.
I love looking at you because in your mannerisms, I see your father. And
you're hitting me right away.
And he was such a great inspiration. I remember standing at Chadia when he would talk to us, and it's so important because we were so impressionable as kids.
Yes,
that when we are in our most vulnerable times and looking outside of our parents for influences, that's when people like your father had stepped up for so many other people like myself had stepped up for me and took that place and basically gave us, great direction because our friends are idiots, right? And we grew up in Queens, right?
Wow.
Whitestone, right? And our friends were idiots, right?
Yeah.
Driving down Franny Lou and, whatever. all
Exactly.
stuff, right? All the stories.
Yeah.
And in that time, when we had these, when we were looking for direction, when we craved discipline the most, we got it. So, I remember hearing your voice, looking at your mannerisms. I'm brought back these hours on. We don't say that brainwashing is not the right word. It's conditioning, right? Because we're all conditioned one way or another. And that's a big part of my book is about how our children are conditioned, right? If your children grow up entitled, that's our fault for conditioning them. They didn't have to work for anything. And so one of the things that we have to understand ultimately is that in our times when we need it the most, in our teenage years specifically, and we pulled in other direction, when we have somebody that's so powerful outside of our parents, because at that age you start to go, I heard you a million times, Dad.
Yes. Sometimes we need to hear that other voice, for sure.
I'm doing it right now with my daughter. Right? I have her with Grandmaster Moreno. I don't teach anymore. I just throw her there once a week, twice a week, just to spend time with me at my dojang. But I have to step away because I need to make sure that there's somebody else outside of me that doesn't, just burn her out.
Wow,
anyway,
wow. You hit me right away with the 1-2 piece right there. You know how to get to my heart right away. It's it means a lot to me. it means a lot to me when people mention my father in that light, you know, and how he inspired so many, and it touches me. It touches me. It really, really does. Thank you.
He was an old school dude. You know, he was
yeah,
and the result is real. I mean, that like continuing the legacy, and I think that's it. He couldn't be more proud. I'm sure.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So again, tonight's episode, everyone, is brought to you by Whispers of Wisdom. This amazing, amazing book. I cannot emphasize enough. Now, as a school owner, and then we'll get more into your life. But like I said, I really, really, really want to start off with the book. For someone like myself and other school owners listening to this podcast, talk to me how this book is so essential in teaching children, because for Taekwondo dojangs, for the most part, children are our business from a business standpoint. How is this book so relevant in our teachings on an everyday basis to our children?
Sure. And so my ultimate goal at the end of the day, my limits as an athlete were never physical, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're between the ears for anybody. You know, it always has to do with something, the way our beliefs, our psychology, our patterns, our habits, and these are all fundamental. These are our conditioning. I've studied and spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on clinics and courses, trying to become the best version of myself to give back to kids, because I realized that's my purpose and it's my passion. I've gotten really good at it, to the point where they called me the Kid Whisperer, and had everything written down. And we had our own certifications and trying to teach people. And we realized the biggest part was making an impact on these people's lives, and it came through character development. Now, I was able to do all these things unconsciously because I had a slow build of all the things I did through the years. But I said, well, how does it become recreatable? Because everybody always wanted Master Graf. I want Master Graf to do it. I want Master Graf to do it. And go see him. But I'm not there all the time. I can't be there all the time. I have people underneath me that I wanted to be able to share this with. I wanted to make a bigger impact. So I was like, well, what are the essentials? What are the principles of everything that we do? For example, if you have a 17-year-old that goes through their first breakup, and they go, Master Joe, I went through my first breakup, right? Your advice would be completely different than your 19-year-old instructor. So how do I give wisdom to my 19-year-old instructor, the tools and the template to give the right answers, to deal with anger, to deal with, and the book covers a lot of it, right? So for example, a kid came to me and I will tell them the story of the farmer and the horse. If you remember from the book, can I share it with you?
Yes, please.
Farmer wakes up one morning and his horse had run away, a beautiful stallion. All the other farmers and all the other neighbors come around and they said, that's so unfortunate, you're so unlucky. And the farmer says, maybe. Next day, the farmer had woke up and the horse came back with two other feral horses, two other wild horses. And all the other farmers and all their other neighbors came around and they were, wow, you are so lucky, you're so fortunate. The farmer says, maybe. The next day, a farmer's son gets on one of the horses, the wild horses, to try to break it. He gets bucked off and breaks his leg. All the neighbors and all the farmers came around and they say, you're so unfortunate. You're so unlucky. The farmer says, maybe. Well, the next day, he says that a war was going on at the time. The military had came to town, tried to draft their son to war, and they couldn't because his leg was broken. And all the neighbors came around and said, you're so fortunate. You're so lucky.
Yeah.
And Thomas said, maybe. And I love this story because I tell this to, if I had somebody going through any event in life that you think it's the worst thing in the world, it might be the greatest thing.
Actually, it's not. Yeah.
Not. We've all had events. when somebody's passing in our life, we're so unfortunate, we're so unlucky. Maybe this happened to teach me something. Life happened to call me up to, if I broke my leg prior to a competition, maybe when you break up with this girl, if I didn't break up with this girl in high school, I could never have met my wife.
Exactly.
And I have all advice, but once we start teaching them the templates of these stories and understanding the morals and the principles that remind them, that's all you got to do. You give them a story, and then they figure it out for themselves, and that's your advice.
Sure.
We talk about it all the time, and then we have a ton of stories in here. I think stories make the biggest impact. I see when you prepared for can you lift your book that you were looking through? You were looking through a book, right? That you had all your notes and stuff. Yeah. It looked like you were preparing a sermon.
Yeah.
Right. Right. And I was like, I saw you looking through it. You're very calm and collected. When somebody presents something like that, when they present a story to you, you listen.
Of course.
It makes just even the visual of that. And the goal was this. My visual was this. I had the inspirational. There was a tier of things, people telling me I should write a book because I would get advice, and eventually, I pulled the trigger after several years. But my vision was this. I saw many years ago, my daughter was on a pirate cruise, and I saw, there was a play actor reading a pirate story to my kids, and all the kids are gathered around looking like this. And I just looked at all sight, and I was like, there's nothing more beautiful than somebody reading to your kid. I mean, whether if it's devotionals or whether it be, I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
It's just a beautiful scene. And if you're doing
it's impactful, sure.
Yeah. If you're doing wall-based stories, and here's the thing, I have many people that like tagging. I show them a template. You just hand it to your instructor of training, have them read it for 3 classes in a row, and then in class 4, they tell the same story, or whatever the moral or the basic. And now they're working on this great skill of public speaking. We're not sharing wisdom, but what happens is to teach us to learn twice. So now, as I'm imparting it, I'm living it, I'm breathing it, speaking it to existence. So I felt that, whether, as an instructor, our ultimate goal is, we're not perfect, but to become Master Joe is an idea. Master Graf is an idea. You have to live up to that idea.
Oh, 100%. Lead by example, 100%. Yeah.
But how do I see you do it in your physical activities. I see you still competing, which is, my body's falling apart. God bless you.
Nah.
And so we do it by speaking it into existence,
Sure.
or become a reality. And we say it over and over again. And we can influence and impact so many people. So I created this for 2 things. Number one, I was always giving parents advice. You just see things that make, I'm sure you see it all the time in your lobby.
All the time.
And you cringe. What happens? It's called the curse of knowledge. We know, because it's second nature to us, to use Perez correct phrase. Right? When we talk to somebody, we go, it could be much better if you did this, but great job. And the parents just go, no, that's the worst thing you've ever seen. Stop it. I mean, you be coached like that, you're going to destroy somebody, and they're not going to listen. They're going to block.
Yeah.
We do it unconsciously because we've been doing it for years, but parents don't know it. So what we do is, our ultimate goal is to create an awareness on what they're doing, on their habits. So I had 3 parts to this book. Number 1 was moral-based storytelling, that anybody can sit down and have this tremendous impact. And all these stories, I've shown them down to be 2 minutes long, because it can literally be part of your match. The other part was about parenting, about conscious parenting. Understand, like, the things that we do, like, are really make an impact. So, for example, becoming aware of what we call the 6 forms of manipulation in testing. Right? We have different ways that all people, not just kids, get what they want. We have kids that whine to get data. They badger. We have kids that temper, right? Kids that threaten. And there's kids that are martyrs, right? They'll say, nobody likes me. And then they go, baby, I like you. And the parents give them a hug.
Yeah.
And they think they're doing something good. But what happens is you're training a kid that every time he's miserable, he gets a hug. So he gets love for being miserable. You have kids that are, my son, who's the secret one, he's called the butter up. He'll be like, oh, we're so sweet. You're so nice. And then everybody goes, well, what can I get you?
Yeah.
And he'll go far in life, but you have to understand as a parent, are they using it for good or bad, right? Are they manipulating? And being conscious of this, all you got to do is read it. Like, I know what you're doing. But before that, you weren't aware. You weren't aware that it was even a thing. So my goal in this book was to just create those templates. Number one was, we'll give those parenting tools. Number two was moral-based storytelling. And number three was tools that we use for coaching. And I say coaching and parenting are parallel. We talk about growth mindset. And number one of all, I had actually, one of my coaches many years ago, he said something, he had to correct him, this was a weird thing because you never should do that. He said, don't get kicked in the face. Wait, let me ask you a question. If I say, don't think of your mother, what's the first thing you do?
Think of your mother right away.
My ex, he'd be like, and I'm conscious of that stuff. I was at a high level. I was almost 30 at that time when I was
sure.
But so then, and I was also probably in a relationship. I was like, hey, just so you know, I've been reading.
Yeah.
And listen, and I it's always been my thing. I go, where can I make the greatest impact? Am I going to make Olympians? And I go, yeah, maybe. At the time, I was like, but the truth of the matter is, where can I make the greatest blanketing impact? Was if I can come up with a system of training behaviors, character, and psychology, and make it you have the greatest impact, right? Because this is the one that's gonna. How do you can have a weak-minded kid that's really talented, yes, or you can have somebody who learns what grit is, becomes aware of their negative and positive behaviors, but negative and positive language, and is able to correct it. And that was my goal. And so I had all these things together. I had my moral-based stories we used. I had my my staff training, which I basically that, and then the last was all my parenting tools that I would get on a regular basis, as speaking to parents, like just to the point where they, learning, are you training your kids, or are your kids training you, right? And that's like a big thing. Is in the fundamental base of my book is the story of two wolves. If you get a chance to read it,
Which right in the beginning, you hit them right away with that. That's perfect.
But also because you have the wolf pack, right?
100%. That's my last name.
Right. So, and whichever wolf you feed grows, right? So if you feed the negative wolf, you feed the bad wolf.
The negative will grow. Yeah, sure.
You start learning everything is based off of that, of those behaviors. Where your focus goes, your energy flows. Whatever behavior you feed will grow. Whatever behavior you starve will not disappear, but it's there.
Yeah.
You have that ability because we all have the ability to be angels and saints.
Yeah, we do.
You feed the wrong one, you're going to prison. Me and you. You feed the right one, you make an impact like it. No.
Yeah. Well, this is just a amazing way to start this podcast tonight. Cheers, salute. Usually I have a cup of coffee, but we'll keep it healthy tonight. I'm going to go into your accolades. If I make any mistakes, and I know you're a very humble individual, but I have to, for everyone watching, I have to list some of your accolades. To me, probably one of the most amazing accolades you had as a competitor was you won a national championship at every single weight class. That's something today that I feel like a lot of athletes don't understand, the work that goes into something like that. To me, that was probably one of your most impressive accolades. You are a 9-time national team member, 13-time International Open medalist, 2-time Olympic alternate, and the founder of Believe Martial Arts, right outside of Miami, Florida, correct?
Yes. Yep. 2 locations.
Before all that, and we'll get into that as well, talk to me about Tony Graf from Woodside, Queens. Talk to the audience about, how you were as a kid and what really got your start into the martial arts journey. How did this all come to be?
Well, let me ask you a question. Whenever people reference me, what do they use me as an example of?
What do they use you as an example of?
They reference me if they knew me blowing up.
If I ever reference you, which I do often in my class, I talk about, your determination, one thing I always tell the class, you were never the biggest. You were never the biggest, but you worked harder than everyone else and you had the biggest heart in the ring. Your heart overcame everything. It didn't matter how big that person was. You always overcame that. It's where I always use you as an example in my class, always.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I wasn't the most talented. I had a conversation with somebody actually 2 days ago. A friend of ours blowing up, Michael Gregowitz, he's a national champion.
Yes.
And I haven't seen but for some reason, he FaceTime today. I haven't even talked to him. I mean, talking to this, it goes, you willed yourself into a 9-time national team member. And I'm like, because of, I fought middleweight and heavyweight, following my lineage. Because I also saw patterns. I was very good at pattern recognition, and I saw the patterns of success and failure. We talk about it in game planning. And I was always coming up with like, well, listen, I'm not going to beat you like this, so how can I beat you? And Herb said this a long time ago. He said when we were in a group, we were all training at the Palisadium, and he said when we would go to Korea, everybody else would train to be like Korea. When I went, he says we train to beat Korea. So the game plan was, how do I beat Korea? So I'm 13, 14 years old, not very good, but I had a tremendous amount of work ethic, and I would come up with a game. I go, how do I beat Korea? Well, Korea doesn't like the scrap. Right? How do I outwork them? How do I become more enduring? How do I come up with a game plan? How do I become a little just awkward enough? I'd fight point tournaments, and then I would fight everything. I would fight 14 times a year. I would just try to find my way to see, well, what can I steal? What can I take? How can I come a different look? Because I can't beat them at their own game. Yeah. And and I've fought, and I won 2 Korean Opens. I fought Korea, and I beat a Korean world champion, Hyoshik, head to head. I beat Olympic gold medalist. I knocked out an Olympian. I mean, I've had a lot of success in my career that I probably shouldn't have. I was an underdog, but what I did was I came up with a game plan, and I said nobody's going to outwork me. And I did that. A lot of that was just because of my positive self-talk. I would will myself. People thought, it was crazy that I talked to myself. And my subordinate thought I was crazy. He'd be like, stop. Yeah, this is my impersonation, by the way. Stop talking to yourself. What's wrong with you? And I would be like, I was kind of shamed for it. And then when I arrived to the Olympic Training Center, I got a book in the library, and the first one was about sports psychology. Okay. And it was talking about positive self-talk, and I'm like, wait a minute, I do this all the time. And I did it all the time is because what I had in my head was my id-ego, super ego, which was the bad angel and the good angel. Right? And this bad angel would tell me, you're not good enough, you're short, you're like, and then the good angel would be like, me, verbally, I wouldn't listen to myself. I would own talk. But I'm the best. Nobody can make like this. And I would literally become I would ruminate in my own verbiage. And I would beat people. I remember the first person I beat was when I was 16. I won national championships. If you saw me, I was pacing like a lion, talking to myself before the fight. I beat Stephen Lee, who was 27-year-old national team member, and I was 16. And I beat my second big guy I beat was like, I beat a bunch of big guys, but for me, it was like, I remember beating, like Wayne DeRosa. Like, for me, when I was 17, I was a scrub a couple of years prior. But when I beat Wayne is hanging out, we're just chilling before his fight, and I'm pacing. Well, you have to understand, after training, I would do 7 more rounds and run 3 more miles. Right? Ask anybody who was training me back then. They knew that, like, why so much? I was like, well, you're not going to beat me. You're not going to outwork me. Right? And the whole time I'm pacing this, and was I technically or better? I know I willed myself to beat those people.
Yeah.
I've willed myself to beat David Kong. At the time was like Iowa to me, world bronze medalist. And then it beat all these people. And I wasn't supposed to, until eventually the point got where I was like, okay, you can relax a little bit, buddy. You have to be there. You actually know when you have enough experience under your belt. But the funny thing is, when I was 13 years old, on one of my first trip with the US Cup, I go on my first trip. I was 13 years old. I have a brand new pine tree uniform.
Pine tree, wow!
Like just straight out of the package. You know, I'm like, I come down to the lobby. I'm like, when do we work out? When do we train? And everybody's like, this kid's a dork, right? And what a nerd! Like they're like literally saying these things. I'm like, and then I went in, I kicked on my balcony, and David Eberle, and got my butt kicked by this Puerto Rican kid. It was amazing, right? Because I got, like, literally, I wasn't just that good. I got my butt kicked for literally 2 years straight. Went to every tournament, lost first fight, things like that, right?
Yeah.
So I go.
I really hope today's generation is listening to that. Just tonight, I had a conversation with my students. I told them, and I always reference, amazing professional athletes and things that they say, whether it's Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant. And the one thing that you always hear from incredible athletes like yourself is, in order to be a great winner, you have to know how to lose. You have to. Kobe Bryant used to say all the time, he missed more shots than he ever hit. And that's what made him great. And I preach that to my students, and you just mentioned it too. You lost for 2 years straight, before you reached to where you desire to be.
But I was looking in it as I was collecting data.
Yeah.
I was collecting experience. I thought that I was behind on everybody because I was, I started competing when I was 12, and everybody else was like, I would fight kids that were like 5-time junior national champion, and I would fight. And I would fight like 12 times a year. I mean, literally, we would go every. And eventually, we started to understand. And every time I would do it, I'd watch a video, I'd watch it again. I'd game plan. I'd be like, well, what can I do different? Okay, last time I was too calm. This time I can do more aggressive. What can I like? And I would look at other things. I would watch video. I'd steal. I'd obsess. I was relentlessly obsessing about it because I wanted it. And, people thought I was a psychopath. At 13 years old, I'm going down and I'm the kid who goes on about me and wants to train. Well, 20 years later, I'm at World Championships in Denmark. And first thing when we ran, I'm like, when do we get to train? I go, I'm the same kid. And I go, the difference is everybody else was coasting on talent and whatever. I go, to this day, I'm 45 years old and I'm in pretty damn good shape because I will
amazing shape. I'm surprised you got your shirt on, to be very honest with you. Follow Master Antony Graf on social media and you understand what I'm talking about. You don't see the man with clothes on much.
People understand that also. I don't apologize for it when I do.
No way in the world. I tell people all the time, it's not vanity. It's, as we said before, we lead by example. When people see us come inside the dojang, they have to look at us and be like, I'm going to listen to this guy. Because, I always bring this analogy back to my mother's restaurant. My mom always says, you eat first with your eyes, then your mouth. When they walk inside of the dojang, they don't want to see a belly, hanging off the waist. They don't want to see that. No. They want to see you in shape. You again, lead by example. They look at you and they're like, this guy's going to get me into shape physically and mentally. Again, everyone, whispers of wisdom.
Well, here's to hold you accountable, and that's why it's so important that we have our purpose. And my students are my purpose. And like I said, I refuse to be a hypocrite.
Oh,
and
for sure.
There's no wavering from that. And I go, that's it. I go to my last dying breath. You're going to see, if you know my story and my history on the injuries that I went through the years, I fought 2.5 months after getting ACL reconstruction, torn through the ACL. Oof. I bowed out in the finals and nationals, and in 6 months total after that. So 5.5 months after my surgery. By the way, the doctor said I shouldn't even kick for 9 months. 5.5 months after my surgery, I made national team and probably had one of the best fights I've ever had. My first fight out, I broke a guy's arm in half.
Yeah.
So cover, and I blasted him, because I can only kick with my lat. I'm sorry. Well, I can only kick with my lats because I blew my right ACL. Hitting that just 10,000 reps, right? But only a left leg. I can only do that. Sure. And then I would surprise everybody with my right every once in a while. I'm pulling up hat even. So it was those things that you learn through the process. Like there's things that you learn, like I'm going to find my way. I'm going to will my way. I'm not a hypocrite if I tell somebody that I want them to work through it. I've been through it myself.
Exactly. So exactly. We use ourselves as an example. When we say things, we could back up what we say, what we preach, and that's something very, very, very important in today's day. But you bring up, all this tremendous willpower that you have, all this self-talk. Talk to me a little bit about the inspirations behind that, because something like that doesn't just happen. There had to be some inspiration in your youth that made you think like that made you want to become more. Talk to me about some of those inspirations and those people that molded you into that.
That's great. Well, remember this, there's two things that really, with the ultimate driver in anybody's life, are going to be two facets: extreme pleasure or extreme pain. If you're comfortable, you're not going to move. If you hate the way you look, you're going to work out, right? If you really want to get that girl or boy, you're going to work out. Like if you desire, because you love that. But if everything is chill and everything, like I'm fine with this, and that's that fine line of being okay with yourself, right? But at the same rate, there's got to be something that drives you. Sure. And pain is a tremendous driving factor in that. They ever feel I wasn't enough? And the truth of the matter is, the big thing, all this me trying to be the best version of myself was because I had nothing. I wouldn't be at school. I didn't have any sports. There was nothing that gave me any significance, any praising words. I was just and because I didn't get that way before, Taekwondo, I would act out, and which basically was a vicious cycle, because now I was labeled as a bad kid, but being like different kinds of therapy, and now all I needed was a purpose. And my purpose, because I always say this is one of my biggest references: a dog with a job is a happy dog.
Yeah.
If you take a shepherd and who's meant for herding sheep, and you lock him in a house and tear your house apart, you put him out in the fields, and he's happy. He's meant to do what he's supposed to do. He runs, he stays active. And as a kid, I didn't have a purpose. I didn't have a job. I didn't have significance. And I conveniently started Taekwondo. Okay, this is how I get it. 3 medals. And I kept trying to fill this hole with my medals. And that's okay. And sometimes along the way, I realized that it was pretty, it's not, it wasn't, nothing's ever filled. It's who you become on the path, right? I become a better version of myself. That's what the whole thing is. Not like metal. It's the person you become along the process. But I realized that as an adult man or along the process, navigating my like 20s, that it wasn't about the metas. And it wasn't about my self-belief, but it was about my psychology. It was about the journey.
The journey.
And,
yep.
Yeah. And it was about the journey. And it was because success is, is continuing to grow. It's not, what do I do now? Right? Okay, learn that. So now what? Right? Like, I'm done. I'm going to check out. No, you just got to find something else. And that's part of the process. Is once you start doing that, you start doubting. And also, you go nuts because you don't have a purpose. And I realized my purpose was all these things rooted from me knowing like I wasn't enough as a kid. And now as an adult, I think the greatest thing here that I can help is let kids know that they are enough. And a lot of it happens in just, hey, telling it to them. It's shifting their perspective. Like, oh, everybody's going to, okay, I'll give you an example. I had a kid, we have a black belt one, and we're all prepping for it. It's on the heavier side. He was the last person on one. I go, no man left behind, everybody get. You run back and they get him and you leave. They thought they were pity. And made inside, and I talked to him. I go, this is your team. You go, no man left behind. The world is not against me. Say it, the world is not against me. And I go,
the world is not against me.
Right? I believe people, you understand? They're not doing it. You think people want you to fail or succeed. He said, they succeed. I go, are they doing this because they're going to make fun of you or because they want to have what does it mean to have? And what I'm doing is I'm shifting his perspective. I'm letting him know, you are now. I go, stop, you're not, you have this perception that everybody's judging you, but the truth of the matter is, as much as they want to help you, they also are only focused on their black belt test. And I use this reference for somebody like us that we would understand is that Brock's tail.
Yeah.
Right? And then we have the funeral at the end. Guys, we hit a narrator says, nobody cares. Because they're telling jokes, that, and they're having a good time. 1 second now, thoughts and prayers. And the next second, they're like, hey, this guy, you start telling jokes. Yeah. That moment, all these things you did, and you thought everybody worried about. You mean, you literally, they're just telling jokes at you, female. I go, all this perception of yourself that you think that everybody hates you, but not. I'll go, you are enough. You are enough. And that's the thing that I wanted to do is because if my journey was tough and I want to create many types of journey with these other people, but what I did to my body, I took away time, the sacrifices I gave, I have to be realistic. The greatest impact that I can make is just a shift in their psychology and letting, people think, man, could be a kid again. I go, it's horrible. You have no direction. You're looking, you're lost, you're confused. You're not sure what decisions to make. And when you have great guidance, you saw somebody who's like, well, no, this is the advice that you, and it's, and then you try to feel sorry for yourself. And I go, hey, it's not time for that. All right. Suck it up, buttercup. You're going to be all right. And then the other friend is like, no, but you're fine. You're empathy. Those people don't care about you. Get off your phone, right? Don't ruminate on things that will hurt you. Stay in. Give them all the tools that they need to be a better version of themselves, and it all comes from. It all comes from my pain, and I went through my process. My pain was God's gift to me. He said, "I'm gonna hurt you, right? I'm gonna make you feel like you're not enough." And then you're going to have to put yourself to a journey to figure out that you are. And I did. Yeah. And then I'm probably giving people enough steps to put them in that right position, right? To make sure that they understand that, they have the faith, family, and fitness, and make sure that their life is well-rounded and be from the best person. So,
you've touched upon it. Now we're going post your competition career, and now you start going into the fitness world, and then eventually leading you into opening up your own dojang. How was that? How was that transition? That transition from post competition to now. How can I put it? Career. How talk to me about that transition.
So, first of all, a lot of things happened, right? And one of is I was not going to be outshined was my work ethic.
Yeah. The work ethic always remained the same with you. That was obvious. You don't lose something like that. Definitely not you. If we're going to do something, we're going to do it 100%.
Well, here's the funny thing. I started with personal training.
Yes.
And the way I had to do my schedule with personal training, because I moved to Miami, I had my name was Master Graf. And he was a great mentor to me and taught me so many things. Taught me more than anything else. He taught me brick, because when we were overcome at the time, he was competing. So he was a murderer, right?
Yeah.
In that sense. Didn't really wasn't really like, hey, he coached me and stuff like that in here, but it was more of like trial by fire. Like, hey, I need a body. If you're not here, you're dead, because I don't have a training, right? So it was like, and it was also, you're in front of me, and I need to get good, and I don't really care. So back then, it was just like, that's how we learned back then. That was a big deal. So we had this process here, and then we all learned trial by fire. Sure. Now, I wanted to mention that. I'm sorry, because I think I probably skipped over what he given.
No, it's all good.
I moved to the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs. I spent 2 years there. I left the Olympic Training Center, and I moved to Miami training with Master Moreno. And when I started training, this is actually I was a personal trainer. I'm down here.
Just as an aside, for anyone listening that doesn't know, Grandmaster Moreno, 2-time Olympic silver medalist, has been, if I'm correct, he's been to every Olympic Games that Taekwondo has been involved, whether as an athlete or as a coach. So for those joining in on tonight's podcast, that's who Master Graf is referring to.
That's now my wedding godfather, my son. You're very close. And like great mentor. With that being said, when I was training, I would train 2 to 3 times a day, and I needed a job that I can have. So what I do, or the one where I train, I would wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I start training people at 6. I go 2 to 3 hours. I go home, I nap, I train again for 2 hours. I nap, and then I train again. And then I would even cut that back on, like, world championships is coming up, or Olympic trials, to make sure that I would have that thing. So I'm going all day long, and I'm just squeezing in between. Now, it was a great template for me. 2004 London round, I got second place Olympic trials to Stephen Lopez. I beat out everybody to be there. They actually had there was a mistake in making a qualification, and we had the largest bracket ever in the history of Olympic trials, because everybody had to come down up a weight division.
Yes, to make that exact weight.
I had murderers in my division, like Josh Paulman, Jason Hahn, Mark Lofall, everybody you can name. And I had people coming up from heavyweight, up from lightweight. And for me, I went to middle to Olympic welter. Sure. And I ended up being, Lopez and Jason Hahn, and all these other people that were just amazing athletes who have, on a better day, they beat me, right? Whatever it is, or they would have beat me. But the way the endurance of that, I had 7 fights. And then at the end of that, we had to fight Steven. I had to fight Steven like about 3 weeks later in California. It was kind of set up. He had to win once, and I had to win twice, and he set up for him. Also, it was at his prime and the GOAT at the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a week after that, I come back from the Olympic trials and I blow my ACL fighting with other Olympians. And I'm like, there was some guys from Denmark, another guy from Trinidad and Tobago, and another country. We were all training and I'm killing everybody because I'm like furious that I'm not going to the Olympics. And I blow my ACL.
Oh.
When that happens, I thought my career was over. And somebody's been bugging me to start a Taekwondo pit. It's 2004.
Mm-hmm.
Our personal training in his gym. He had a back room. And I said, hey, listen, can I use the back room to start a Taekwondo pit? Yes. 2004, 20 years ago, I started my program. Coach Moreno comes up to me and goes, listen, you need to fight in 2.5 months, or you might as well just quit in the cut. I was like, all right. So now I'm running Taekwondo school. I'm personal training. I'm training myself. And I'm getting this all things in momentum. So I have a Taekwondo school. And now it's all momentum and doing it all. And crushing it. In 2008 rolls around. When he says, hey, you want to do open for CrossFit? I said, hell yes. And now I'm learning at CrossFit. I'm personal training. I've got a Taekwondo school and I'm training 3 times a day. In from the moment I woke up, and the funny thing is I still wake up to this day. I wake up at 5:30. You know, when you told me this podcast was at 9:30, I'm like, hey, buddy.
Yeah.
But it's all
That's love. That's love. That's love. I appreciate it. And our viewers probably are appreciating it even more.
Thank you. So now I go in there and go, okay. And I'm a big self-development guy. So in this process, I'm listening to self-development tapes. I'm going to self-development seminars and clinics. I probably spent over $200,000 on continuing education outside and self-development over, I always say 3 times a year, like business, it's personal, as far as self-development, emotional, social, and emotional. So business and personal, and then physical, right? And then, so when I say physical, that's would be the learning how to do kettlebells, like a portable certification, or I go to a martial art, I learn how to be Kali, or I learn, some version of martial arts, or I go to a martial arts business seminar, or whatever it is. Spent probably over $200,000 collectively.
Yeah. I'm going to correct you though. You didn't spend. You didn't spend. You invested.
I invested. Okay, correct.
Yeah.
Because ambitious people spend money on education. Yeah,
sure.
Or invest money in education. I agree.
Yeah.
And that's the truth of the matter is I thought this is going to be my education. But bigger than that, I surrounded myself with a mentor. I mean, a good friend of ours who's also a paisan is Master Paul Malala.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's I went many years ago. I give him a call. I haven't seen him in years. And I go, listen, and I come out and shadow you for 4 days. Spent time with him. We connected. We got for my daughter. And basically we say, like, for us, it's great because your students have a model already. Yeah. And for me, I'm out here floating around and nobody's giving the model that I need. So I went and the mentor, like, that I was listening to on my CDs back then was like, hey, copy the model, find the mentor, copy the model. Well, I listened and I went, I followed and copied. And luckily he was my brother and took care of me. And I found somebody who gave me guidance and direction. And then I continued to just invest in myself and pivot and become a better version and making sure that what I'm giving my kids, what I'm giving my Taekwondo school is going to be better and better and better. And then it kind of crossed over. And now I'm just, I think the best thing that what happened to me and how I became successful in my 20s and 30s, I said yes to everything. people like, do you want to do this? I'm like, yes. You want to start CrossFit? Yes. Do you want to start a run? Yes. Even personal training on Sundays at 6 a.m.? Yes.
Yes. That takes a great deal of humility. That takes a great deal of humility.
And then how's the thing is because like, being able to do that, even say yes to so many things, give me the power to have experience, know what I like, what I don't like. And now at 45, I can say no.
Yeah.
I can say no. I've earned that right. I didn't have it before, but
you earned it. Exactly. Keyword, you earned it. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing is, something I had to give, and my training wasn't. And guess what I wasn't doing on the Sundays? Training. So I could personal train people on Sunday. Women training Sunday, fine. I don't why. So I can stay home, eat pizza, and watch a soccer game. I don't no. I can do that afterwards. I could train for a couple hours.
Sure.
I go for it.
Your priorities. You had priorities. Sure.
Right. Life is about experience. It's about it's about applying everything and seeing what fits and seeing what you like and see what you don't like. And I like, look, dude, you know what skyrocketed me? And it was in Whitestone. I worked in Canada Dry Coolers.
I remember that.
Yeah. I was working there at a warehouse. I worked from 7 o'clock at night to 5:30 in the morning. But I got a job nepotism. My uncle was the warehouse manager. I did this for one summer to try to earn money for school and taekwondo. And after that summer, first of all, I lost a tournament like a couple of weeks after. In a close fight, I lost at a collegiate tournament. And I was furious. And I was like, first of all, that never letting anything affect my training again. So, I realized quickly I will never work for anybody else in my life. I'd rather work 5 a.m. on a Sunday than have to say to not have life on my terms. And I mean that very, very, like, once I know something, I'll make the rules. I'll never do that again. You know, we call it a never again moment. I'll push forward and I'll be in that situation. Like, no, I literally said I'm not going to work for you. Like, I have someone trying to offer me a job at a local school here. You know, like, here's something. I'm like, yeah, I don't want it. I go, I don't care what you pay me. I go, unless I'm consulting and I can come in and out, I'm not going in. Or if it's going to feed, I'll teach Taekwondo if it feeds my Taekwondo school, but not going to give me an hourly salary. I need to be at
exactly.
I want to be.
I'm with you. I completely agree. I completely understand your logic. I've always, obviously coming from a family of, self-employed business people, I completely get that. I understand where you're coming from, being your own boss, setting your own terms, doing, everything on your terms, everything. I completely understand it.
And also, look, some people are not for that. My wife.
They're not. You have to be built for it.
Yeah, and for me, I have a good friend who's better off just being a Taekwondo instructor with other people, right? For me, I'm obsessive. I don't like things out of place. I want, and I like things very specifically, and I have my rules, and I want them that way. And also, if I don't like something, I take it out. Right?
Yeah.
Like, for example, what's the ITF from the stick block?
Oh, Chungmu.
Chungmu.
Yeah.
You see Chungmu, right? And her girl, she goes to me, I control this school is. I go, it's a stick block. She went, who blocks a stick like that? I'm like, Chungmu block.
That's it.
I'm done. And now I started creating like my own what we call functional form. I'm like, okay. But here's the thing: is I didn't take out tradition completely. I still honor tradition, so I'll have a fictional forms. Mid four, and then I said, okay, let me use my own patterns and I guess you know why I can do that? Because it's mine.
It's yours, for sure.
I can do that. And,
there's a method to your madness, and whatever, makes you happy, what you feel is going to make your school grow. I say that to people all the time. You have to have your own originality, but like you said, very important. It's yours.
If I don't believe it, then I'm like a fraud. Then I'm like, okay, I don't want to do
Exactly.
this.
You have to believe in what you teach 100%.
And that's what we want to be weird. And
Yeah.
so with that being said, and I move in my taekwondo school, grows. I ended up acquiring another school from a friend of mine, and my CrossFit, I ended up merging with a CrossFit gym, and I only focus on kids because once again, I actually realized I only like doing kids. I only like working with kids. And the reason is it's easier to build strong children than to fix broken men.
That's a good one. That's a gem right there.
Yeah, it's Frederick.
That's a good one.
Well, here's the thing: is the adults can change. Adults,
it's difficult. No, I completely agree with you.
but there's only one. Well, there's the two ways they change: extreme pleasure, extreme pain. They have to be broken. They have to have something in their life. They have to be broken, and that's why in the military they do buds, right? Where they do like you have a grown man, and they're like this. They wear them out. Like, okay, I'll give you my best example. Caesar Malone.
Okay.
He's got this
the dog whisperer.
The dog whisperer. I'm the kid whisperer he's involved with.
You are the kid whisperer. Yeah.
He's got this
again, everyone. I'm gonna throw this plug in there.
Yeah.
There we go.
So Caesar Malone has this little Italian Greyhound Chihuahua mix, right? And the dog is like a mess. Nobody could touch it. It bites. It goes crazy. Like the dog cannot be trained. It stops eating. So the first thing he does is like he starts to nobody. It's like this dog is like impossible. So he puts a little swim vest on this thing. He goes, and he gets in the pool, and he puts the dog on it, and the dog starts swimming, right? And then all of a sudden the dog tries to get out. He turns him. He starts swimming again. He turns him again. And the dog, right, doesn't let anybody touch him, but bites him when he touches him. He keeps doing that until the dog just kind of stops and lays on him. Listen, not a training.
There you go.
And that's what you have to do with adults to do that. Because folders, and you have to break them first. With kids, they're the exact opposite. They're puppies.
Yeah.
Valuable.
Yeah, we mold them. We mold them.
You go treats. It's okay. No, pat, love, right? Whatever. Or they can neglect them. You got wild animals.
Yeah.
Well, some wild beasts that are going to just poof everywhere and bite things and do things. And you do have it. You have a well-trained, and you understand that. Like, how can I do that? And we can do that. We can build them because they're. Can you do it? Yes, but also people, they're so set in their ways that they're going to want to fight you, right? They're going to have no true respect you. So I realized that, and I found that there was always so much. Having like a girl CrossFit gym, it wasn't a martial arts studio. It was like I was Coach Graf, but I wasn't some of them. So they see me like they weren't like having it, and it was a lot more drama than I would want. Because in my school there's zero.
Yes.
I don't know for it. I don't allow for it. I don't like it. I don't want it. I don't have it. We deal with it. We nip it in the bud and move on. And I was like, well, what's the ultimate goal for the kid? What's the ultimate goal for the person? We're trying to see this. I go, there's no opportunities for that to happen. And I really pride myself on that. And I said, you know what? Let me stay in my lane. I'm good at this. I'm known for it. I love it. It's my passion. It's my intrinsic purpose, which I've actually did too. So not to go woo-woo, but I got hypnotized and I stepped into my own body when I was 4 years old, and I felt the pain of being alone. And I said, "Oh, I never let a kid feel that they're not enough." And my ultimate goal of passion in life is to give parents and kids the tools to know that they're enough. Yeah. And I go, that's what I'm doing. When I have that loose statement right there drives everything I do. And guess what doesn't align with that? Was that the training? I mean, I'll train adults. Well, I'll maybe do with them work for them. But if they have mind, my talk. Yeah.
No, that's a great thing, and it also falls into how, when they say if you do what you love, it's no longer a job anymore. It's a way of life. You know, I don't, my kids, when I talk to them in the morning, I never say I'm going to work. I never say, they never hear me say, I'm going to work. It's not a job to me. It's not.
Yeah.
You know, we love what we do at the end of the day.
Let me ask you. So it's two things that we have to approach you to say. It's a mission or a purpose. So like I get to live my purpose, right? So I get, all right, this is my mission. This is what I'm supposed to do. I'm going to do this to my last breath.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the funny thing is that people, they talk about retiring, but the word retiring means to die. And I go, well, I want to be active. I go, I want to have some kind of influence and impact. And I go, I know it's one of my needs in life is to continue these. And it also keeps me alive, right?
Sure. So now outside of the dojang, you know, I want to bring up another interesting thing because we always, you know, we talk about the balance of life. Talk to me about the family a little bit, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, please.
Well, so listen, like you wonder, like, man, am I doing it? You always wonder. And you can do everything right and it doesn't turn out well.
Mm-hmm.
And the good news is that we've had 30 years teaching kids, right? Both of us, something like 35.
2 kids.
No, 30 years teaching, just in general.
Oh, teaching. Yeah.
So let's see, 33 years, maybe 2000. No, so I got my black belt December 7th, 1992. So you were a red belt like at 15. I remember like that dudes were like, right?
Yeah.
That
was I got my black belt April 1st, 1995.
95. So
in 95, I became a black belt.
You used to break dance, right?
Not me.
Well, okay. I always thought you used to. All right, anyway. So there was so 95, like, so I got my belt. So we've been teaching 30 plus years.
Yeah.
You see kids and you understand. And I'm grateful for all those kids because we learned the patterns, right?
Sure.
We make kids better. We understand how to teach them. We know what they're doing before they're doing it. We've seen every version of it. We know that right now my daughter is going through hormonal changes. So I'm like, I know to be empathetic if it's not her fault when she cries for names.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm going and I go because, you know, I know that because I remember the first time I'm going, what the hell's wrong with this girl?
Like, right.
And
it prepared us without realizing it. It prepared us to be parents.
It taught me so much empathy, right? And especially with that, I go, you know, I just have to be there and okay, you know, I just need to be there. And like a lot, when I'm like, or sometimes check them, like, well, I pattern disruptor, and I've done enough like neuro-linguistic programming to understand how to do, like, to get them out of a state and shift them to where I need them to be. So, when it comes to my children, I'd say one of the things is I remind my kids of who they are and why they're there. So, for example, the number one thing I want to teach my kids is how to work hard.
Sure.
Right? I think that idle time is like the W version. Yeah. I'm not judging anybody when my kids are not allowed electronics at all. My daughter just bought her first cell phone and it's a flip phone. And she was only because I'm anti-video game because I understand growing up in the video game generation that I have an addictive personality and I could I could spend hours locked into a game and ruin when I could be doing something better. And now we know so many studies between that there's so many better things that we could do.
Sure.
You know. So with that being said, when you can iPad babysit, you got to put the work into the panic. So now I got to do that, and we lead by example. So both of my kids, run. That's a fundamental base of everything we've done. They must do Taekwondo. They must do school in my house, and then pick them back into school from 7 o'clock in the morning till 9:30 at night. My kids be there. And what I'm doing is I'm building an endurance. People are like, burn them out. I'm like, if you run a mile and you don't work out, it's hard. If you're running a 5K every day since you were 3.5 years old, you ain't fit. It's just what
Yeah.
you.
Mm-hmm.
And when I my kids, I wanted to give them the fundamental base to be better at everything else. And I tell them that, do you know why we're the fastest kid in school for my son? Do you know why that put place in the 15-week category at a 5 kid? I go, is it talent or is it because you've been running since you were 6 years old? Do you know why that the coach, you can do 50 double unders in 1 minute? It's because you can jump and eat rope since you were pop.
Yeah.
Do you know why you can climb out? Like I go, because I taught you how to climb out during the pandemic. And that's all we did.
Yeah.
I go, do you, like, I agree. Do you know why that you're actually a Taekwondo, you're still going and you can outlast everybody? Although it's because we've been running, 5Ks, and we run every Sunday 2 miles, keep our maintenance up, and we run during the weekly sweats.
Mm-hmm.
I go, do you know why you can do pistols on one day? And you know why you back kick people on pine day? I go, all these things. I go, it's because you've outworked anybody else. And I let them know these things, and then I try to create it in the party of pattern. So, for example, my son Titan loves gymnastics.
Yeah. I see that.
Yeah. He wants to go home speak. We'll figure it out. So he's but here's the thing. He's got a great coach. And one time his coach called him a workhorse. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I do? And you know what workhorse is? I go, you're a workhorse. That's your nickname. You're a workhorse because you know why? Because you work harder than anybody else. Yeah, I'm a workhorse. Now this became the thing. So what happens is when people label you, the shy kid, you think we're shy. What happens when people label you the workhorse? We live up to it, right?
You live up to it. Exactly.
And
like
so
you said, we talk about it like, you molded them. You molded them from the start.
Open didn't, right? But I got that. So I know when I was conscious of his nickname. Because what do all the cultures do? They call it gordo, right? What's that? Right? Like fat boy. That, like, no, a flaco or whatever it is. I'm like, that's the name you chose? Not the mighty Michaela, right? Not like, man, because that girl, she's able to do everything like a superhero. Like, you couldn't figure it out? Like, there's a reason my kids are named Titan and Athena. Like, I was conscious. I knew, like, I was like, you're already like born into it. I mean, the thing that you say every day,
just by the names itself. Yeah.
And as a power of words, I go, absolutely, right? Because they have different feelings, right? If I say the word breathe, you instantly breathe. If I say tight fist, it makes you want to press, right? Sure. All those words have a reaction to our body. You're a workhorse, and we train this, and we program it. I'm not brainwashing like this. I'm programming. If I don't do it, somebody's going to call him Gordo, and then it's a mistake. And so I'm making a conscious effort, and I think I'm doing okay so far. They're pretty effective, but this is our idea of a big. And here's the thing. Once again, when I ran my 5Ks, this is what parents do. I started very small. We started with 200 reading, and they were real long. Mm-hmm. When I started running with my daughter, I would talk to her the whole time. And I go, no, my favorite part of my day is, I go, being running here with you is my favorite part of my day. I love running with you. And I would talk to her, and I'd tell her stories about her father, about their life, about whatever it is. I tell her fable. And now what happens is, I would tell her this over and over again. Does she like running or doesn't like it? She likes it because every time she spends with me, she's
exactly. It's quality time. It's the quality time that we spend, parent and child.
And that's one of her love languages. That's her top love language, is quality time. Mm-hmm. Start running. When I pass, and she goes and she wakes and she grows up, and she runs, where is she gonna feel?
That same connection that you gave her.
The love.
Exactly.
Love, because what happens is, Taekwondo makes me feel love. That way, the bond you have to be that. Ice cream makes me feel love. That's why I have to It's so far from, because my dad would celebrate with ice cream, right? He would go like, hey, like this. So when I eat ice cream, I'm like, good boy, right? Like everything clicks in. Like it's so low. But my goal is to like, and remember, it's like Pablo Abstan, who trained whom? And I'm making a conscious effort to train them. And that's why my kids, one of the best things that we can do is if you hear the 1 to 5 10, it's like get them in shape to do it and run it, is because guess who wins in a 5K? Everybody.
Everyone.
You cross the line and it's a party and everybody's on and then now all this created, and you could have walked it, and you would have been fine. And then at the end of the day, like the kids, and now they do it and they want to do it again. And now we train. And I mean, this is my vacation. And Thanksgiving for me, we're getting in a car. We're going to St. Augustine. Are you familiar with St. Augustine? It's the oldest like town in Florida. It's always kind of the roots. It's like it was he's like 1500s or something.
Okay.
Got all streets and all stuff. And we're doing a 5K.
Wow.
So we're turning into a mini vacation and a sporting event.
And a sporting event. And staying healthy and staying strong and keeping the family close and tight. I love it.
And then we just, and this becomes their identity. Now, what do my kids identify as? They identify as the fit kids, the healthy.
Yeah. Not a bad thing to identify as. Not at all.
Right. And that's we all believe we are. Like, and then so we become the things that we believe in. And so for now, my son, wasn't play baseball. He'd be like some half-hour coach. He won the home run derby at school. He never played baseball in his life. I made him learn how to swing and throw a ball because all I ever did was taekwondo, right? I don't know anything else. I could teach you. You see me, I've walked over and showed you like little things like, man, I never looked at it in that perspective, right? I've forgotten more about, I know little things. The hard part is I have to shut my mouth with my daughter now because she's doing sport, and I gotta step away because I don't want to burn around and I want to micromanage her, and I gotta tell her also do your back kick like this.
Yeah, right.
But it's not my place anymore because I'm not the coach.
Mm-hmm.
So, but anyway, so now, but the ultimate goal is this: make my kids give them a foundation, visible strength and ability, agility and skills, right? Just slowly, collectively through the years, not getting greedy, not getting carried away.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll happen naturally. They can play whatever sport they want. Like, and not only that, but I've set them up for a pattern for fitness for the rest of their life. Right? Yeah. If you have gymnastics, you taking any kid into your taekwondo program that started with gymnastics, right? Oh. They're like, easy. You right? You have a kid
to teach in the world.
Yeah, and you got a kid that plays hockey, and man, he's got grit. He's got some strong back kick.
Exactly.
And he got some single leg balance and strength. You got a kid. Now I have my daughter. She jumps ropes. She does both of my kids can bang out like 50 to 100 double unders, and they can, love. So the goal was make them as well-rounded and as fit as possible. And then when the hormones kick in, I continue to push like we do. They don't have the option to quit anything in your life. We show up, we don't quit. That's what Grafs do. And, and we you have to be taekwondo, you have to do school. And then
all done through example. And that's the most important part. All done through example.
And here's the thing is, why do my kids at least have to do taekwondo at my school? Because what their real lessons, they're going to get obviously self-defense and taekwondo and base, but their mindset is it's going to be, we literally have a built into our curriculum.
Sure.
To work on their character, to really just drill and to hear these 70s, 80s stories that I have over and over again. And then like when they're at the toughest point of their life, and I would be like, Like I can even reference to my kids. I know though. I need you to be today. I go Athena, Scorpion, and the fall. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna do it again. You gotta have about your life. I go. Show me your friends, and I'll show you. I'm sure go far. Okay, I don't think that's a good friend. If somebody's always bringing you down, you don't even on that person. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You can choose your friends. Just because you're your classmate doesn't mean that they have to be create fans. And I start giving them out. I go and I tell them. I give them things like a classmate. You can't really cut a classmate out of your life, but you can create boundaries. A family member, you can't cut a family member out of your life, but you can create that. A friend, cut them out of your life.
Exactly.
If they're breaking you down, if they're curving you, if they're making you worse, go ahead and cut them out. I know the other part of your life, you can do that. When you start giving people templates like that for life, you want a relationship with a boyfriend or a girlfriend, like your brother's being a jerk, create that. Try to settle it, but at the same rate. If nobody's willing to change, they need to know what's the best for you to help. And we start teaching those templates at a really young age. This is simple wisdom, right? This is simple things and simple ideas that we know, right? 80-20 rule. And based in like this, it's like we have 2 templates. Like you can cut them out, but if you can't, and using whether it's workplace or sparing, you have to limitations. Like I don't need to be on the phone with you that long. But I need, but I don't need to be we create limits to what we do. And when I do that with my daughter, now I set her up for success for the rest of the life because I get them right.
Wow.
And I feel what my students, and that why do I do that is because they're going to hear me preach it. All my instructors say over and over again, and hopefully make that positive impact. So those are things that when we talk about my family life, and also let me give a shout out to my wife, who's a
you know what you just took the words out of my mouth. That was gonna be my next part. Behind every great man is an even greater woman. So you beat me to the punch.
We're we do our self betterment events together. We do we're big into the personal development, and if you don't have somebody working on themselves, we're just looking for somebody else to pick them up every time.
Sure.
She's a 2-time World University Games silver medalist. She was a great fighter. And she's 2 homegirls. She's a tough chick. And she's on the same page with when we're on to raising like this. We're on the same mindset. We don't contradict each other at all. We whenever we I don't allow them to do certain things. And if I say we're not doing that, I mean it. Right?
Yeah.
Said whether we didn't.
None of that good cop, bad cop stuff. You're all on the same team. That's something very important. I speak to my wife about too when it comes to parenting our children. I tell all the time, even if I know you're wrong, I stay quiet. And we'll talk about it after the kids go to sleep. There's none of daddy says no, let me go mommy. Mommy says no, let me go to daddy. No. Everyone, we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
So important.
And never speak poorly of your.
Of course. Never.
As a matter of fact, I don't even let my wife speak cool. Like, I tell my kids to check them if I go, don't let your mom speak bad about herself. Because I go, one of the worst things you could do is self-deprecate. Women tend to do this a lot, right? Both say like, I look like crap today or whatever, I'm heavy or whatever it is. And don't do that because then they realize that first of all, that's a pattern within a mirror. And second of all, we should never let anybody talk poorly about people you love. So if you're talking bad about yourself, I go, stop it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
so important.
And because what happens is you don't recognize that because they're all mirrored behavior, right?
Yeah.
All mirrored behavior. I'm like, but we try. I mean, I think I'm doing a pretty decent a job of my experiments right now, and we're all trying, right?
That's a very, very humble statement. I feel you're doing an amazing job, and you're an amazing example for all of us out here. That's why, bring this back to the beginning. It's such an honor to have you on A Black Belt Way of Life tonight. It's great. It's great.
Well, you know what? I was debating on trying to fly up, and I was like, chicken and goes in this private studio.
Listen, anytime you come up, please, you let me know. Doors always open for you, my brother.
Yeah, I'm grateful for you, and I love what you've done here in your studio. Is beautiful, and I can't wait to come visit again, man. I will. That's my homestead, right? That's my
yes,
my stomping grounds. I'd love to come over, and when I come in, and I'd love to spend some time with you.
Please,
maybe. And more importantly, is that my favorite thing to do besides workout, would be able to sit down and talk to some of the kids.
No, that would be amazing. But tonight's been a very, very special night here at A Black Belt Way of Life. Again, Master Antony Graf, his book, Whispers of Wisdom. Go out there, purchase it. Again, like I said before, this is not money spent. This is an investment in your life for every Taekwondo school owner, martial arts school owner. This is such a valuable tool for any parent. This is an even more of a valuable tool. Again, we are leading by example here. We're living a black belt way of life. Thank you so much, Master Graf, for being here. For anybody watching A Black Belt Way of Life, make sure to subscribe, to like to our page on YouTube. Follow us on wherever you consume your podcasts. And always remember, as my father would say, a black belt is worn around your heart, never your waist. Thank you, Master Graf. It's been my pleasure.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I'm grateful.
Yes, A Black Belt Way of Life was produced by Press Record Studios.